Tonight on Fox 45 News at 10, the Baltimore area's youth crime crisis. A teen arrested in a Milford Mill 14-year-old's murder. New details as leaders try to get a handle on a disturbing trend. As early voting opens across Maryland, term limits take center stage in the city. The dueling rallies for and against how your vote will shape Baltimore's political landscape for generations to come. A mother tells Fox 45 Safe Streets workers some of them did not do enough while her daughter was beaten up.
That's the part that really hurts me the most, is that my son did more than they did.
We investigate why Safe Streets was there and what their role was supposed to be.
Live from WBFF in Baltimore, this is Fox 45 News at 10.
Breaking news out of Harford County. The sheriff's office releasing information just minutes ago about a deputy-involved shooting that seriously wounded a man this afternoon. Happened around 4:30. Police saying they responded to a call for somebody in a mental distress. The release claims the William Hawkins moved toward police with a gun and refused to listen to commands when deputies opened fire. The Maryland Attorney General's office is now investigating. Good evening, everybody. I'm Mary Bubala.
And I'm Kai Jackson. We are following three major issues impacting people in the Baltimore region.
Election Day is less than 2 weeks away. Baltimore City voters will have the chance to decide how long their leaders can serve. We're taking a closer look at both sides of Question K.
And Baltimore police claim the spike in crime is shrinking, but data Fox 45 News has obtained shows that might not be the case. So we're looking into the new trend surrounding carjackings. We begin in Baltimore County, though, where a teenager is in custody accused of shooting and killing a 14-year-old near Milford Mill High School last month. Fox 45's Riel Creighton has more on the new developments and local efforts to combat a disturbing rise in youth violence. Riel?
Kai and Mary, several recent cases where young people have been either the perpetrators or the victims in violent crimes. Now, whether there's actually been a surge in the number of young people committing violent crimes, the arrest of a 17-year-old for the killing of a 14-year-old boy is raising new alarm.
If you want to see someone deteriorate fast,
it's the kind of pain few can imagine.
Tell them their child has been murdered.
Natasha Maribel on reality for her and her loved ones. Her family, Travis Slaughter, just 14 years old, the Milford Mill Academy student gunned down after a high school football game. What Maribel says they were told was a random act of violence, someone opening fire on the crowd. Thursday, investigators announcing a break in the case. An unidentified 17-year-old arrested.
We figured that it was a teenager.
The suspect for Travis's murder marks the latest in a string of arrests for headline-making crimes that police say also involved minors, even the most serious offenses. Jeremiah Brogdon murdered at dismissal at Mervo. Police accusing another 17-year-old in the killing. September, a 16-mile high-speed chase on I-83. Police say in the car they discover this: loaded guns, drugs, 3 teens in custody, 2 15-year-olds and a 17-year-old.
We have seen kids who was 12 years old 10 years ago who are now 22 committing big boy crimes and killing people.
Activists condemn what they believe is an upward trend. Others calling for more transparency in records for juvenile crimes. From this family, the alleged victims of an underage offender, they want justice. She also says don't call the arrest of a teen for murder closure.
Potentially may spend the rest of his life in jail. His family is affected, and our family is affected as well. There's no happy medium here. It's no win.
Now, the data that we have for some of the most recent cases certainly doesn't include some of those most recent headlines. But according to Baltimore police, there have been 10 people under the age of 18 charged with murder so far in the city this year. Reporting live tonight in Baltimore, Riel Creighton, Fox 45 News.
Riel, thank you. Well, Fox 45 has covered youth crime for months. Riel mentioned the murder of Mervo's Jeremiah Brogdon. That actually happened the same day Travis Slaughter was killed. A 15-year-old squeegee kid is accused of shooting and killing Timothy Reynolds near the Inner Harbor. Next month, the judge will decide whether he will be charged as an adult. In June, Baltimore police arrested a 15-year-old Howard County boy in connection with the shooting death of another teen at the Inner Harbor over Memorial Day weekend. And then in May, a 16-year-old was charged with the shooting death of 30-year-old Marco Nunez. That shooting happened outside of a busy Fells Point bar.
Well, a date has been set for Mayor Brandon Scott to announce the results of the Squeegee Collaborative in Baltimore. The date was set during the police consent decree hearing today. Now, that collaborative has been meeting since July, but has refused to allow cameras to record public sessions. Fox 45 News reached out to the mayor's office to confirm the date, but they would only say the announcement will come soon.
Well, according to Baltimore police data, there have been 522 carjackings so far this year. That is up 23% compared to last year, with 426 carjackings at this time in 2021. However, in the last month, the number of carjackings seems to be on the decline. Keith Daniels has been digging into the data. He joins us live with a closer look at what could be causing the dip. Keith?
Well, Mary, the experts will tell you they don't believe it's any one thing that's causing the dip, but tonight there is one particular strategy that is standing out. In Northeast Baltimore, remembering what happened, Monica Holland face-to-face with two masked men in an attempted carjacking on Chafford Avenue this summer. She revealed the chilling circumstances of the incident.
He told the other boy that was standing outside, "Kill her, yo," and he said, he put the gun inside of my window and clicked it to try to kill me, and the gun jammed. According to police,
carjackings were up 71% in the first 3 weeks of this year. But Wednesday,
they were decreasing the increase.
Baltimore police at a city council hearing touting crime data that shows robberies, burglaries, and carjackings declining in recent weeks. So what's driving the drop?
The Al Capone model, as you know, worked extremely well.
Law enforcement expert and former FBI agent Tyrone Powers weighs in.
I would attribute it partly to the more aggressive stance the Baltimore City Police Department has taken with collecting guns off the street, putting that in motion, the reassignment of officers to do that, and also the partnership with the federal government.
A partnership announced in August.
I am using that unprecedented level of state law enforcement funding.
Eric Barron, U.S. Attorney for the District of Maryland, declared 3 actions his office would be taking in collaboration with other federal, state, and local partners to tackle crime in Baltimore, including what he called an Al Capone model of prosecution.
I have directed my staff to investigate and prosecute repeat violent offenders for any and all wrongdoing that meets our priorities.
Barron not talking publicly now about whether that federal partnership is actually working to help reduce crime in Baltimore, but others.
I think we should use every tool available,
including Rich Gibson, Howard County State's attorney, is speaking out about Barron's involvement.
I have no doubt that he'll do everything in his power to ensure that violent offenders are held accountable.
Including the 2 men who terrorized Holland, who remain on the loose. Well, Power says while it's too early to see the full impact of Barron's directives, he believes it will play a significant role in reducing crime in Baltimore. We're live tonight. Keith Daniels, Fox 45 News.
Early voting begins today, and 2 groups held dueling rallies on Baltimore's ballot question K.
That's right. It asks voters whether or not they think elected city leaders should be subject to term limits.
Fox 45's Rebecca Pryor was at both rallies.
Yeah, this has really become a hot button issue in Baltimore. With early voting starting today, the push is on to get people to the polls.
Baltimore, stand up and vote no to question K.
Vote yes. Say yes to term limits.
Passionate pleas coming from both sides of the aisle on Baltimore City's ballot question K Thursday.
I'm here because I am deeply concerned of what's happening in our city.
On one side, a coalition of Baltimore leaders backing the ballot question, arguing 2 term limits for the city's mayor, comptroller, and city council would usher in new faces, new ideas, and new solutions. A change they feel is especially needed in a city where crime and corruption have a history of running rampant.
How long should we idly watch our city's population decline from more than 620,000 in 2010 to less than 577,000 last year as more and more families flee our city to make a life somewhere safer and with more opportunities? It's time for term limits.
It stops people from becoming career politicians. Look through your communities. See what the politicians have done for you for the length of time they've been there.
They also argue term limits would put Baltimore City in the majority. Right now, term limits exist in 9 out of 10 of the country's largest cities.
This has nothing to do with any political party. Democrats, Republicans, independents all support term limits as a smart political process across the country.
Beware of false prophets.
On the other side, the Baltimore City Democratic State Central Committee says term limits are designed to serve special interest groups, not voters.
It is not a community-led initiative. It is a tool used by outsiders who do not care about our city or our citizens.
Meanwhile, voters we spoke to are also split.
I will vote yes.
No, I would vote no.
While many were shocked term limits aren't already in place.
It just doesn't seem fair.
So give somebody else a chance, don't let her just keep running and running and running.
Whether it's crime, whether it's the Baltimore City schools, whether it's a trash pickup, things need to improve.
Others say in order for real change to occur, they want our leaders to serve more time in office, not less.
I still think the experience and the stability outweighs the other problem.
Either way, all Baltimore City voters will get a voice come Election Day.
And this also isn't the first time that we've seen these efforts made in Baltimore. We also know that a bill was introduced in 2015 and then again in 2018 to implement term limits. Both failed, but in 2018, then Councilman Brandon Scott was on record saying that he supports the bill, but he raised fiscal concerns. Reporting in Baltimore, Rebecca Pryor, Fox 45 News.
Question K does not stop local politicians from running for multiple offices. Supporters believe if you're successful in one position, you could run for another one.
There would be no vacuum of leadership from any effective leader that wished to serve the city and its residents. They could continue their leadership in various offices. Question K allows elected officials to win additional elections to other city offices to continue their public service to the citizens of Baltimore.
Under this measure, someone could conceivably spend their entire career in Baltimore city government. For example, the same elected official could serve 8 years as a member of the city council, council president, mayor, and then comptroller.
Well, we want to point out the chairman of the board of Sinclair Broadcast Group, Fox 45's parent company, donated money to the petition drive. As we heard at this morning's news conference, there are many more people than just David Smith involved in this effort.
Let me refer everyone to the reports that the Ballot Issue Committee has filed and is continuing to file with the State Board of Elections. Those reports show that the persons behind this effort are individuals. They are individuals who are devoted to Baltimore City. They are individuals who love our city, and I include myself as one of them.
Now, we asked you in late September, do you support term limits for Baltimore City leaders? At the time, 217 people responded. 207 voted yes, which is 95% of the vote. 10 people voted no. Now that early voting has begun, we want to hear from you. Do you support term limits for elected leaders? So far, 98% of you who voted say yes. Go to foxbaltimore.com/vote to make your voice heard.
And after highs at 68 this afternoon, chilling down now into the upper 40s to right around 50s. We take a beautiful look at M&T Bank Stadium. Of course, Ravens not playing here, but go Ravens nonetheless. By tomorrow, we're back up to around 60, a few clouds around. That nice spread in temperatures adds to the beautiful leaf color. I'm going to let you know the secret behind our best color in years. That's coming up in my Weather Authority forecast.
Next on Fox 45 News at 10, a mother says some Safe Streets workers stood back while her daughter was beaten after school.
Why is that okay that an 8-year-old is out there fighting for his sister more than grown men?
Why Safe Streets was at that school as we press for answers on student discipline. With new development in the federal Stricker Street fire investigation, victims' families speak to Fox 45 demanding safety for first responders. And still ahead, Maryland's Most Wanted, how you can help track down the man wanted for killing an MTA bus driver and the cash reward available. Is recovering tonight after he was shot in Hamden just after 6:30. Police say 3 men approached the victim in an alley off of Keswick Road. When he started to run from them, they shot him in the leg. Police are searching for suspects. Anybody with information on this shooting is asked to call police.
A South Baltimore mother is demanding answers after she says her daughter was attacked after school.
And there's about 50 kids running to my car talking about, her mother just attacked her child, her mother just attacked her child.
Fox 45 News obtained video of that attack. It shows some Safe Streets workers trying to break up the fight.
The mother spoke with Fox 45's Mackenzie Frost, who has a closer look at what happened.
The video shows a 13-year-old student getting attacked by what appears to be the mother of another student. The incident was captured on video and it took place last month. As we continue to investigate the Safe Streets program, we're trying to figure out why these Safe Streets workers were at the school in the first place. Outside Baybrook Elementary and Middle School almost 1 month ago.
That's not okay.
This video capturing a 13-year-old girl getting attacked by the mother of another child at the school.
You could see how irate she was.
Now, Angel Workman, the mother of the 13-year-old seen here, getting tossed on the ground by her hair.
You can see her standing there.
Speaking to Fox 45 News, but not wanting to show her face.
I told her to call her effing mother. She wanted to whip my
Her son also on hand for the fight.
She's the one with the jeans.
While going through the video with me, emotions bubble to the surface.
That's the part that really hurts me the most, is that my son did more than they did. Why is that okay that an 8-year-old is out there fighting for his sister more than grown men should have been? I don't like to watch it. I get worked up all over again.
In the video, you can see Safe Streets workers on hand. The violence interrupters, often former criminals working for the Brooklyn Safe Streets location, usually working in the community, preventing gun violence. But the mayor's Office of Neighborhood Safety and Engagement telling Fox 45 News the Brooklyn location has an agreement with the Baybrook Elementary and Middle School. To have those Safe Streets workers at that school to ensure safe passage of students to and from campus every day.
I was not aware of that. When I went up to the school, the principal kept telling me they didn't even work for the school. They were just for the community. What was the other 2 men doing? Just standing back, watching?
Workman says she's lived in South Baltimore for years, and until her daughter got into a fight, had never heard of Safe Streets. According to the city's map of the Brooklyn Safe Streets zone, the school sits just outside the Brooklyn boundary. Fox 45 News asking city schools if the students involved were disciplined and how long the school has had the agreement with Safe Streets. But those questions going unanswered.
But hold her in a headlock.
Meanwhile, Workman's daughter still in school, not wanting to transfer.
It's her last year there. It's not fair for her to be punished for something that she didn't ask for.
While she says she's waiting for answers from city schools. Do you think the city schools are doing enough to protect students?
No, definitely not. Definitely not at all. Our kids are in danger. We send our kids to them every day, thinking we're sending them to be safe. And I feel like the school is not doing their job.
Court documents show that the woman involved in the incident captured on video was later arrested and is now facing multiple unrelated charges. In Baltimore, Mackenzie Frost, Fox 45 News.
Well, beautiful sights throughout Maryland. Just look. Oh, that's
lovely. That's absolutely stunning. I think, Jonathan, that's yesterday's video from Loch Raven Reservoir, right?
It's
just stunning. Look at those colors. Wow.
Absolutely beautiful weather, guys. That was from our Fox drone. And, you know, it's actually been, a lot of folks have been saying, some of the most beautiful weather in terms of fall foliage that we have seen in years. And, you know, there is some science behind that. Number one, you have to talk about the moisture content of the leaves. If you have dry weather, that actually kind of delays and mutes the color. Now, when you have wet weather during the previous summer, the leaf change is on time and it's more colorful. Also, that big spread in fall temperatures, that really helps out those very warm days and those cool overnights. So again, depending on temperature, precipitation and moisture, and of course that lower sun angle, which we're guaranteed to get. And take a look. Temperatures have been running about 1 degree above average in September, so that helps with that temperature spread. And also, it's been a little wetter over the summer season heading into the fall when we actually had a bit of a dry stretch, which helped those leaves not to rot and maintain those beautiful colors. And you can see that near peak color here in Baltimore. Newest map just coming out today from the DNR. You go west, it's past peak and just starting to change as you work your way down towards beaches. And if you want to know more of the signs, we're going to take you in depth on an article on the Fox Baltimore page. Just go to FOX45 News. You can search it in your browser and you can link right to the article. Their brilliant fall foliage across Maryland. We've got your updated Halloween planner in a couple of minutes.
Jonathan, thanks. Progressive prosecutors are under fire as crime becomes a top issue this election season. What's happening in Philadelphia, how it could impact the whole nation.
We're still grieving, we're still hurt, and we're still in unbelief.
The families of 3 fallen firefighters are demanding action from city leaders. Their emotional pleas for change coming up at 10:30. Developing right now, Philadelphia's progressive prosecutor is facing impeachment by state Republicans as crime increasingly becomes a key issue for voters ahead of the midterms.
National correspondent Kayla Gaskins has details.
Articles of impeachment against Philadelphia's top prosecutor officially drawn. Pennsylvania state Republicans accusing the soft-on-crime progressive DA, Larry Krasner, of dereliction of duty for failing to prosecute crimes as violence in the city spikes.
Right now, in a superheated election cycle where part of the Republican playbook, as you well know, is to point a finger at large, diverse cities and say large, diverse cities are lawless. What we see here is the same old playbook, which is about coded and racist messaging.
Rising crime nationwide, producing backlash for progressives. San Francisco recalling their own soft-on-crime prosecutor, Chesa Boudin, earlier this year.
The progressive district attorneys, they've decided that they can change the law by just not enforcing the laws that they don't like. The people that voted for them wanted reform. They wanted things to get better. What they got was everything getting worse.
Polling shows voters place crime as a top issue this election season, turning some Democratic strongholds into unexpected battleground races. The New York governor's race getting too close for comfort. Democrat incumbent Kathy Hochul shifting focus, presenting herself now as tough on crime.
You deserve to feel safe. And as your governor, I won't stop working until you do.
But even some of her fellow Democrats, like New York City Mayor Eric Adams, say Hochul's limited bail reform policy, her main tough on crime talking point, does not nearly go far enough. Her challenger, Congressman Lee Zeldin, catching up in the polls, promising to immediately remove Manhattan progressive DA Alvin Bragg from office for failure to enforce criminal laws should Zeldin win. If current crime trends continue, more so-called soft-on-crime politicians likely to find rocky roads ahead. In Washington, I'm Kayla Gaskins.
Well, here in Baltimore, City State's Attorney Marilyn Mosby is considered a progressive prosecutor. She lost the primary election by a wide margin, something the likely next City State's Attorney says shows Baltimore City residents weren't happy with Mosby's policies.
Do you think that that's an indication that the city was not on board with her policies, did not agree with how she was handling crime and violent crime in the city, and they're looking to you to really, really make a big change?
Yes, I definitely believe that. I mean, look, if you take all the votes that didn't go to her, that's almost 71% of the city said we want a new direction.
Well, some good news for the economy right now in today's GDP report. Why some say it's still too soon to celebrate.
Don't forget to check out the Fox 45 voter guide. Point your phone's camera at the QR code on your screen to take you straight there, or head to foxbaltimore.com/vote2022. Our top story at 10:30. Federal investigators have completed their investigation into the January fire on Stricker Street, which took the lives of 3 Baltimore City firefighters.
The Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms says it's now referred the case to the Baltimore City State's Attorney's Office. But a spokesperson declined to say if any charges would be filed or if they knew of potential suspects.
It comes as Fox 45 News is speaking only to them, demanding accountability from city leaders. Maxine Stricker has the story you're seeing first on Fox.
It was a dark winter morning in January.
I received a phone call from somebody on the scene that said that there had been a collapse and I needed to start heading downtown.
She said they can't find Paul.
A day Lacey Marino and Rachel Buttram would like nothing more than to forget.
So I went to the scene and I waited there until they pulled her out.
I spent all day down there waiting for them to pull him out.
But that day is still fresh on their minds 9 months later.
She was my best friend.
Lacey's sister, Kelsey Sadler, Rachel's husband, Lieutenant Paul Buttram.
He was a wonderful husband, a great father, great friend, hell of a fireman.
And Erlen Karkache's brother, Kenny Lacayo.
We're still grieving, we're still hurt, and we're still in unbelief.
Died on January 24th after a vacant row home on Stricker Street collapsed in a fire. Every day since then.
Everyone who's experienced something like this has warned us that when the waves hit, it's debilitating, and it's the truth.
Marino says has been pure hell.
There's just all these things that she's supposed to be here for, and now she's not here to experience any of it.
Paul missed one of life's greatest moments.
I brought our daughter into this world last month without him, which is completely unfair. They would have had the best time together, and I can only imagine him here with her. We would have drove him insane, but it would have been amazing.
And while every day they honor their loved one's memory.
That's a picture of my sister and I hugging. That's her handwriting too.
They still question why this tragedy happened.
But we would like the city to be held accountable.
Property records show 205 South Stricker Street was listed in violation since 2010, unfit for humans. The home had even been on fire once before in 2015, injuring several firefighters. An inspection report showed there was major fire damage. The owner, listed as a Robert Shore, was to board and secure the property. But we asked the Department of Housing and Community Development why it wasn't demolished. A spokesperson told us at the time it did not require an emergency demolition, which is the only way we have a right to demolish a privately owned property.
I don't think that there's ever enough to be done. We can always do better.
Josh Fannin, president of the local 964 Baltimore Fire Officers Union, says it certainly wasn't safe for firefighters to enter on that January day.
It certainly shouldn't have been standing in the condition that it was in, no.
Left vacant for over a decade, the firefighters had no idea what they were walking into.
But in this case, it wasn't a fire that they stepped into. It was a trap that was already set from the past.
Baltimore City has nearly 15,000 vacant homes, majority of them privately owned. And the problem is costing the city and taxpayers an estimated $200 million a year, according to a report from Johns Hopkins University. Mayor Brandon Scott directed $100 million COVID relief dollars to housing equity in Baltimore earlier this year, with $39 million dedicated exclusively to taking care of vacant homes. But the decades-old crisis doesn't seem to be slowing, and Marino wants to see the vacant homes torn down now.
I was speaking with, our friends and that are still on the job. I've personally asked them, do you think things have gotten better since January? It's the same answer. Absolutely not. Nothing's changed. And it's almost like the top's forgotten about what's happened.
But these families have not and will not rest until they can be sure this won't happen again.
When it's not their families, it's not their friends, it's not their everyday that they have to go through with all of this. They're not left to pick up the pieces of this and have to keep going every day.
Now, we asked Scott's office how much of that COVID relief money has been spent and just how much progress they've made when it comes to demolishing vacants since that announcement was made. We have yet to hear back. In Baltimore, Maxine Stricker, Fox 45 News.
Some of the families Maxine spoke with also spoke out during a city council hearing on the vacant home problem back in July. Emotions ran high. In fact, Councilwoman Odette Ramos was moved to tears by the testimony. At the time, she called on her colleagues to do more to fix the problem.
We have to make sure people are not living next to vacant properties. We have to make sure that our communities are ones that people are proud of. And we have to make sure we don't have more firefighters die.
Well, the city council is now debating a bill that would increase the amount of fines on vacant properties. Councilwoman Ramos is supporting the bill. She says even if the fines aren't paid, it will help the city address the vacants faster. A committee has to hear the bill one more time before it goes to the full council for a vote.
We are following some breaking news tonight. Elon Musk and Twitter have formally sealed the sale of Twitter. Musk now owns the social media group and immediately ousted top 3 leaders, including the CEO. This is a developing story. We'll have more on the changes coming to Twitter on the late edition. Well, the Dow closed on a high today, climbing 194 points, while the S&P slid 23 points. NASDAQ had another bad day, closing down 178. Today's GDP report showing economic growth for the first time this year put some investors' minds at ease. Now, that report shows the economy grew at a 2.6% annual rate, surpassing what many economists expected. The report highlights supply chain improvements as a reason and eases recession fears for now. Experts say it's not time, though, for a victory lap.
Today's figures really just erased the losses that we saw in the first 2 quarters. So we haven't really gone into a decline, but we're also not really growing right now either.
It's expanding, it's growing. And what we have is a strong job market fueling good consumer spending.
Renewed fears of a rail strike and record low Mississippi River could create new challenges for the flow of goods. Meanwhile, the Federal Reserve says it plans to roll out another interest rate hike next week.
Well, experts say because of inflation, people are spending an extra $400 on things like gas, utilities, even groceries each month. Many people are putting those expenses on credit cards. A new report from LendingTree shows Americans' total credit card balance in the second quarter was $887 billion. That's $100 billion more than this time last year. Experts say if you find yourself in credit card debt, you should look for help before it snowballs out of control.
We often tell people to call their credit cards. They may be able to help them. Sometimes they have internal programs available that they may be able to put them on.
Well, some people will have another expense come January when student loan payments are likely to resume.
With elections less than 2 weeks away and the economy looming as the biggest issue facing Americans, politics can often play out at the gas pump. Right now, the average price of a gallon of gas is around $3.75. That is significantly higher than $2.38 a gallon Americans were paying when President Biden took office back in January. Now, the president has tried to lower gas prices by tapping into America's emergency reserve, but eventually refilling the stockpile has put him in a difficult position. Sinclair Chief Political Correspondent Scott Thuman explains.
For consumers, there's some relief. The White House announcing gas prices down on average $1.22 since June, in part due to President Biden's release of emergency supplies from the Strategic Petroleum Reserve. Though when it comes to refilling it, the president in a pinch between both the Saudis and the oil companies.
I guess I would say to any administration, you're not going to solve the long-term energy challenges that we face by trying to do it by the first week of November in every even year. The way to do it is to have a long-term strategy.
America's reserves at the lowest level since 1984, with just over 400 million of the 714 million barrel capacity. But the White House says no need for alarm.
I don't think we've made any mistakes. Probably the critique would be you need to do more. And we are trying to do more. As I said, there's ample reserves that the president needs to go back to that well, but also he's been talking to gas and oil companies, the refineries, the producers.
President Biden wants to replenish supplies by buying at about $70 a barrel, but American companies are unlikely to produce enough to get him that lower price. And the Saudis, also refusing to up production, accuse him of manipulating the markets.
Losing emergency stock may become painful
in the months to come.
Large quantities of crude oil for
Republicans happy to pile on, point to March of 2020.
We're going to fill it right up to the top.
But Democrats denied Trump's plan to buy at $24 a barrel. Bloomberg reporting that decision effectively cost the U.S. billions in potential profits and meant Biden had tens of millions of fewer barrels at his disposal with which to counter price surges. In Washington, I'm Scott Thuman.
The massive Powerball jackpot is still up for grabs. There were no winners in last night's drawing, so now the top prize is $800 million. It is the second largest jackpot in Powerball history. The next drawing is Saturday night.
Well, the search is on for the man accused of killing a Baltimore bus driver. What you need to know in tonight's Maryland's Most Wanted. Shocking video of a shootout in Philadelphia. What we know about this violent incident.
All right, let's take a look on the Mile 1 Towson cam. Downtown Towson right now, it's 53. Some winds variable at 3 miles an hour. They've been out of kind of a northerly and westerly direction for today. That's dried us out nicely. Gorgeous day with a high in the mid to upper 60s. We're now again in the 50s, on the way down into the 40s, maybe some 30s too. Already a 44 over at Columbia, 53 in Baltimore, 57 in Annapolis. It's the 40s on the Eastern Shore. Temperatures all running about 5 to 10 degrees below where they were just 24 hours ago. Now, you take a look here on the HD radar as we go on the wider view. You don't have much rain till really you get way out here with some rain and snow in portions of the Midwest all the way down to south of Denver. Actually, there's some snow with winter storm warnings. And we've also got some rain that's off the coast of the Carolinas. So pretty far away at this point. So a few days of nice, clear, dry weather. And boy, do we deserve it after 4 nasty days of clouds and rain and drizzle. Temperatures right now under the clear skies, all in the 40s and the 50s, pretty much statewide at this point. There's a chill north and west, and we are going to see some 40s and 30s by early tomorrow morning. Now, although it's cold and dry here, the tropics still going all the way through the end of November, in fact. So we've got a 50% chance of development perhaps in the next 5 to 10 days, moving towards the Windward Islands, and now a lowering chance of development that is over the area just south and west of Bermuda. So it doesn't look like we're going to watch for anything out of that. But nonetheless, we are going to keep our eyes on the tropics as we go through the next month and a half or so. Future scan right now. It's dropping quickly through the 40s. We're back into the 30s to around 40 by tomorrow morning. Maybe leave some extra time for scraping north and west. And then as we head into tomorrow afternoon, another winter, although it's going to be a couple degrees cooler than what we saw for today. 39 degrees, starlit skies, gorgeous, although chilly overnight. It's going to be crisp, real fall feel. Keeps those leaves changing with clouds and sun tomorrow, getting up to 60, 64, mostly sunny Saturday, Sunday, increasing clouds with 64. That's an ex-weather maker. It's a front on Monday for Halloween, 68, some showers, and nice and mild as we head to drier skies by Tuesday afternoon all the way through the middle of next week. But the Halloween outlook hour by hour, I've updated it here. Temperatures in the 60s pretty much throughout for trick-or-treating, but you may want to have that rain slicker with some light rain showers around. Does not look like a rain out, but again, kind of annoying stuff.
Well, the search is on for the man accused of gunning down an MTA bus driver in Baltimore, and federal agents have joined the hunt for a man accused of sexually abusing a child. Alexa Ashwell has this week's Maryland's Most Wanted.
Investigators say this man, Leon Douglas Hill, shot and killed MTA bus driver Elaine Jackson as she was getting off work in South Baltimore more than a week ago. He remains on the run. Court records show a peace order was filed against Hill and temporarily granted 4 days before Jackson's murder. Jackson was shot multiple times outside of the South Baltimore Operations Division the evening of October 18th. Days later, police named Hill as a suspect in her murder. Anyone with any information into his whereabouts is asked to contact Baltimore police. Crimes against children are often thought to be the most heinous acts. That's why the U.S. Marshals Service is asking for your help in locating this man, Samuel Spencer Coates. August 2021, South Baltimore.
911, what's the address of the emergency?
A mother calls police to report any parent's nightmare. Her daughter had told her she had been sexually abused by a man the family trusted.
This is an innocent young girl, a victim.
The victim, 10 years old, and the suspect, according to investigators, this man, Samuel Spencer Coates, 34 years old and from Baltimore.
A crime involving a child, to me, is one of the worst crimes that you can commit.
Investigators say the child was allowed to stay at Coates' home here in Curtis Bay. The mother detailing he had agreed to take her to the pool the next morning, but who she thought was a trusted male figure turned into an accused predator.
Mr. Coates allegedly inappropriately touched a 10-year-old minor child.
Matthew Silverman is a chief deputy with the U.S. Marshals Service. He says attempts to locate Coates have been unsuccessful, and law enforcement fears there could be other past or future victims.
Coates needs to be taken off the street, not just for this offense, but what happens if there's more people just like this out there?
More young lives that could potentially be forever impacted. Coates, investigators say, is likely still in the Baltimore region.
This is where his family is, this is where his friends are, and this is where he's from. So without a doubt, I believe that he's still in this area.
The search intensifying as time passes.
Bringing Coates in will ensure that this does not happen to anybody else. Children should not be victims of crimes, especially a crime such as this.
Take a good look. Coates stands at about 6'3" and weighs approximately 170 pounds. If you have any information about his whereabouts, you're asked to contact the U.S. Marshals Service. The tip line number right here, 1-877-WANTED-2. Or you can contact agents directly, the number right here, 202-819-5058. Remember, you can always remain anonymous and you could earn a reward. I'm Alexa Ashwell, and this is Maryland's Most Wanted.
Well, developing now, police in Philadelphia are asking for the public's help to find the suspects in a wild shootout. Take a look at this video of the incident showing 4 masked people getting out of a car, running up the street, and shooting. One suspect appears to have an assault-style rifle. Police say the suspects fired more than 50 rounds, hitting a 34-year-old man. The victim is now in critical condition. Well, ahead on the late edition, a teen suspect in custody for a Pikesville murder. Fox 45 looks into the Baltimore area's ongoing youth crime crisis. And another shocking discovery inside Lake Mead, what investigators are learning as water levels continue to recede. And we're just a few weeks away from the return of college basketball as Towson gets set to open its 2022 campaign. We catch up with the Tigers coming up next.
Thursday night football, here we are. Ravens taking on the Bucs. Quick turnaround for both teams after playing Sunday. It showed for the Ravens in quarter one and half one. Baltimore managed just 15 yards of total offense in the first half. 3 points at the half. But since you look at the score right there, the Ravens have absolutely turned it on. They threw the ball 30 times in the first half. That's a lot. But they've scored every single time they've touched the ball in the second half. All touchdowns, too. And that's what Lamar Jackson, John Harbaugh, and offensive coordinator Greg Roman. That's what they want. They're leading Tom Brady and the Bucs 24-13 in the fourth. Towson men's basketball has been picked to win the CAA. Makes sense. The Tigers were regular season champs just a season ago and returned 4 of 5 starters. That's pretty good, right? But preseason rankings don't really matter to this team. The Tigers took the court for practice ahead of their season opener November 7th. Last year did not finish the way this team would have hoped. On the cusp of the big dance and falling just short, it really didn't sit well with anyone. But the Tigers, they're always hungry, and it's no different with this group.
Well, you know, they're intense about it. You know, and you know, we all know what the goal is. What I've tried to harp on them is our responsibility is to be really good every day. That'll put us in a position to have the opportunities that they want. But I would say good, bad, or indifferently, they're a little less tolerant of certain type of errors from anyone, and then they've got to continue to be less tolerant of themselves on those type of things, and they're aware of that.
Coming up tonight, a score update from Tampa. Find out if the Ravens could win their second straight game for the first time this season. Plus, a well-deserved honor for Brandon Hyde when Sports Unlimited returns.
New tonight on the late edition, a controversy over unverified voters in a neighboring state, what that means and why state lawmakers are taking action. RSV cases and hospitalizations on the rise. What's driving the trend might surprise you. Trick-or-treating on Monday will cost a little extra. The price of Halloween candy is 14% higher compared to last year. The bags are much smaller as well, if you've noticed. The high prices aren't scaring many Americans away, though. The National Retail Federation says consumers are expected to spend $10.6 billion this Halloween. That's about $500 million more than last year. And as kids get their costumes ready to collect all that candy, Maryland State Police are reminding drivers of the dangers of distracted and impaired driving. Additional troopers will be deployed throughout the state this weekend and on Monday.
A teen's arrest in Pikesville brings murder charges and a renewed focus on youth crime. How leaders are trying to handle the alarming trend. Dueling rallies today as the debate over Baltimore term limits continues. Fox 45 News breaks down the arguments for and against Question K. And Baltimore police point to a shrinking spike in crime, highlighting a dip in carjackings, what experts are crediting for the recent success.
Live from WBFF in Baltimore, this is Fox 45 News Late Edition.
Good evening, I'm Kai Jackson. Youth crime is on the rise across the Baltimore area, and tonight, a teenager is in custody following the shooting death of a 14-year-old last month. Fox 45's Rio Creighton has the new developments.
And several recent cases where young people have been both the victims or the accused perpetrators. Now, whether violent crime among young people is actually surging, still the arrest of a 17-year-old for the tragic killing of a 14-year-old boy is raising new alarm.
If you want to see someone deteriorate
fast.
It's the kind of pain few can imagine.
Tell them their child has been murdered.
Natasha Maribel on reality for her and her loved ones. Her family, Travis Slaughter, just 14 years old, the Milford Mill Academy student gunned down after a high school football game. What Maribel says they were told was a random act of violence, someone opening fire on the crowd. Thursday, investigators announcing a break in the case. An unidentified 17-year-old arrested.
We figured that it was a teenager.
The suspect for Travis's murder marks the latest in a string of arrests for headline-making crimes that police say also involved minors, even the most serious offenses. Jeremiah Brogdon murdered at dismissal at Mervo. Police accusing another 17-year-old in the killing. September, a 16-mile high-speed chase on I-83. Police say in the car they discover this: loaded guns, drugs, 3 teens in custody, 2 15-year-olds and a 17-year-old.
We're seeing kids who was 12 years old 10 years ago who are now 22 committing big boy crimes and killing people.
Activists condemn what they believe is an upward trend. Others calling for more transparency in records for juvenile crimes. From this family, the alleged victims of an underage offender, they want justice. She also says don't call the arrest of a teen for murder closure.
Potentially may spend the rest of his life in jail. His family is affected, and our family is affected as well. There's no happy medium here. It's no win.
Now, the data that we have almost certainly does not include some of the most recent homicides, but according to Baltimore police, as of early September, 10 young people had been charged under the age of 18 with murder in the city. Reporting in Baltimore, Riel Creighton, Fox 45 News.
What we're looking to do is really showcase a city who's moving in the right direction. Not saying Baltimore's got it all figured out.
City leaders across America descend on Baltimore this week, hoping for a lesson in limiting crime. Violent crime is up this year, but Baltimore is seeing recent success in a few other areas. The number of carjackings is down after a spike earlier this year. Robberies and burglaries are also on the decline. U.S. Attorney Eric Barron committed to an Al Capone-style prosecution strategy this summer, saying repeat offenders will be prosecuted for any and all wrongdoing. One law enforcement expert says a stronger police presence is deterring some of those crimes.
I would attribute it partly to the more aggressive stance the Baltimore City Police Department has taken with collecting guns off the street, putting that in motion, the reassignment of officers to do that, and also the partnership with the federal government.
Well, former FBI agent Dr. Tyrone Powers says it's too early to see the full impact of Barron's directives, but he thinks the results have been encouraging so far.
Now, a Fox 45 News alert in 3, 2, 1.
We are following 2 shootings tonight in Baltimore, in Hamden and in Cherry Hill. Police say a man was shot just after 9:30 along Round Road in South Baltimore. The victim is in serious condition. 3 hours earlier, a man was shot near Keswick Road in Hamden. Police say 3 men approached the victim just after 6:30 in an alley. When he started to run away, police say the men shot him in the leg. A search is on for the suspects. Anybody with information on either shooting is asked to call Baltimore City Police. Also breaking tonight, Harford County Sheriff's Office says deputies were involved in a shooting along Shirley Drive in Bel Air this afternoon. According to a release, they responded to a call for reports of erratic behavior. They say a man, William Lee Hawkins, came out of his house with a handgun, approaching police and not listening to their commands. Deputies then shot Hawkins. He's currently in stable condition.
Early voting is underway in Maryland as residents across the state begin casting their ballots. Early voting centers will be open every day from 7 a.m. until 8 p.m. through November 3rd. Question K will be featured on the ballot in Baltimore City, asking voters whether they think elected leaders should be limited to term limits. If passed, the measure would cap mayor, comptroller, and city council positions at 2 terms. Supporters say the term limits would usher in new solutions on a regular basis, while opponents argue voters already have that power.
It stops people from becoming career politicians. Look through your communities. See what the politicians have done for you for the length of time they've been there.
It is not a community-led initiative.
It is a tool used by outsiders who do not care about our city or our citizens.
Does not stop local politicians from running for multiple offices. And Fox 45 wants to disclose that Sinclair's executive chairman, David Smith, financially supported the petition drive to get the issue of term limits on the ballot. Sinclair is the parent company of Fox 45. Now be sure to check out the Fox 45 voter guide for all of our reporting on the upcoming general election. Point your phone's camera at the QR code. You can take that straight there or head to foxbaltimore.com/vote2022.
Well, we've got that lower sun angle. That's a sure bet in helping our trees to change. But you may have noticed this has been one of the best fall foliage seasons we've had in a very long time around here, or at least subjectively so. That's what folks are saying. And here's why. Here's some of the science behind it. Has to do with moisture. Has to do, of course, with that kind of slam dunk, the lesser sun angle. And also it has to do with temperature. We've actually seen a wet pattern during the summer, a little above average rainfall, and then a drier pattern during the fall so the leaves don't rot. So that helps those leaves to get some really nice color, and it helps them to peak about on time. Also, if you get that big temperature spread from the cool mornings to the warm afternoons, that really helps as well. So again, depending on temperature, precipitation, moisture, and again, that slam dunk, the sun angle. Now, temperatures, they were running over 1 degree warmer than average in September. So that helped that temperature spread I was talking about from morning low to afternoon high. And also, in terms of wetness, we ran about a ½ inch above average on the summer rainfall. So that helped to feed some of these colors. And right now, just absolutely beautiful. Right around peak here in Baltimore, points west, you get just beyond peak as you head toward Hagerstown and westbound, and well beyond peak out toward Oakland. And the farther south and east you get, you're a little earlier in the color change. And by the way, if you really want to get your hands dirty with the science, we've got a great article our team has written here. I actually like to thank Jasmine Lomax for putting some of this together. Brilliant fall foliage across Maryland. Just link to foxbaltimore.com. You can find it there.
Jonathan, thank you. Still ahead, ATF closes its investigation into the deadly Stricker Street fire, where the case goes from here. Another alarming discovery inside Lake Mead, what police are uncovering as water levels continue to recede. Here's a look at today's top trending stories. Number one, the ATF says the investigation into January's Stricker Street fire is now complete and has been sent to prosecutors. 3 Baltimore City firefighters died fighting a blaze in a vacant home. That home collapsed on top of them. A spokesperson for the city state's attorney's office says they're now reviewing that case. Maxine Stricker has been reporting on a new initiative to mark vacant homes in order to alert firefighters before those dangers. You can see her complete coverage on foxbaltimore.com right now. Number 2, Uvalde police provide the first public update on the Robb Elementary School massacre in months. The families of the children killed in that shooting have accused the department of slow-walking the investigation. In a heated exchange, Texas's director of public safety said he and his department failed to do their jobs.
I don't disagree with that characterization. And I'll tell you this, it was an abject failure, period.
On every agency that was there, including the Department of Public Safety.
I agree.
A commission for which the subject was not posted.
Well, the public safety director resisted calls to resign today. One state trooper has resigned, and a second is currently under investigation. Number 3, more shocking discoveries as Nevada's Lake Mead continues to recede. A National Park Service team confirms a bone found last week was part of human skeletal remains. Officials are ruling out foul play, but this is the 6th time human remains have turned up in the lake's shallow water. A western drought has dropped water levels more than 180 feet, leaving Lake Mead about a quarter full. Elon Musk's Twitter takeover is complete. The quick changes he's making at headquarters.
And some beautiful dry weather if your Friday includes heading out to the pumpkin patch and getting those last-minute pumpkins. Temperature is going to be near 60 in the afternoon. And if you want to go and check out some of those gorgeous leaves this weekend, I'm going to let you know how the forecast looks around here when rain comes back in my Weather Authority forecast.
We have breaking news from the Tulsa, Oklahoma area where 8 people have been found dead inside of a house fire. Now, police are ruling this a homicide. In an impromptu news conference streamed on our Sinclair Sister Station's Facebook page, police said there is no threat to the public right now. Tonight, police are not saying how the victims died and are saying this is still very early in their investigation. Fox 45 Morning News will have more for you on this breaking story out of Tulsa, Oklahoma. Well, more breaking news right now. Elon Musk has finalized his deal to take over Twitter, and he didn't wait to make changes, already firing 3 top executives, including the CEO. Musk has said that he wants to rethink Twitter's content moderation with a bigger emphasis on free speech. He's also promising to be less strict about lifetime bans. Among the 3 leaders ousted is the person who had been in charge of major account suspensions, which included the removal of Donald Trump from the platform. Election day is 2 weeks out, and tonight there's a budding controversy in Pennsylvania over unverified voters right now. Elise Person from our Sinclair Sister Station in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, breaks down how many there are and what that term actually means.
That letter to the Department of State cites over 240,000 unverified ballots, but the Department of State calls that misinformation. They note verification refers to ballot applications, not ballots.
We're looking for the Department of State to tell us, okay, why are these unverified? What are the circumstances on there? Whether it's an address change, whatever it is. How do you know what it is? How do we have assurance that they are verified?
As of Thursday, according to a state government data website, that number now sits at over 250,000 non-verified voting applications. So what does that mean?
So sometimes if you do a change of address, I'm told that might trigger the NV designation. I'm told if you registered with the last 4 of your Social Security, that sometimes can trigger an NV designation.
According to local election offices, the state's data website doesn't exactly represent the number of non-verified applications in their county. Per the state data website, Lancaster County has nearly 9,000 non-verified online mail-in ballot applications. But according to Lancaster County Commissioner, they only have 290 applications left to be verified. They say they verify an applicant before mailing out a ballot. In York County, state data shows over 8,500 non-verified applicants. Officials there say they have no non-verified applications pending. However, they say they're not notified that a voter is non-verified until the mail-in ballot is returned. The Department of State tells CBS 21 there are only about 7,600 ballot applications statewide currently unverified. They say there are a number of reasons an applicant could be marked as non-verified, including if a voter needs to be re-verified after applying for a ballot for both the primary and general election. Republican lawmakers are looking for transparency within non-verified applications. How do you believe that's going to have a positive impact, though, on election integrity?
I'm not sure if it will or if it won't. I mean, it depends on what information we get back.
All right, well, taking a look here at M&T Bank Stadium, we are getting real close to the end of that Ravens game. 52 degrees, clear skies right now. Of course, the Ravens are down in Tampa Bay. Winds out of the north at 7 miles an hour, humidity 54%. And dew point, nice and dry at 36 degrees. And that is a relief after 4 days of rain, drizzle, clouds, dampness. We're now in temperatures in the low 50s and the mid to upper 40s. So with that drier air, after highs at about 67 this afternoon, well, we're seeing a nice size drop during the overnight, and it looks like that's going to be the case the next couple of nights. And, of course, that keeps those leaves changing. We've got about a week and a half as we kind of sit here in peak conditions. Temperatures running about 8 to 15 degrees cooler than 24 hours ago when we had the clouds and still some sprinkles hanging on. HD radar looking great. How about it? It's the first time I could see that in a while. There's some showers and storms off the coast of the Carolinas, and the next weather makers way out here toward Omaha. There's some severe weather north and west of Dallas, even some snow south of Denver. But around here, the last little vestiges of that latest weather maker coming through, cold front. It continues to push off the coast, and there are some of the showers with it. Clearing, drying weather for us, of course, during our day on Thursday, and it looks like that continues on Friday as well, although we will see a few clouds, I think, pop up, and temperatures about 6-7 degrees cooler than what we saw for Thursday. So we'll feel a little more of the effects of that cooler kind of crisp air from that cold front. Temperatures right now in the mid 40s, clear skies up in Cumberland. Actually, the entire state pretty much right now clear. So That's a welcome change. And temperatures really chilling down north and west of the Appalachians. That's the stuff that feeds in for tonight for the heavy jacket weather tomorrow morning. Now down in the tropics across the Windward Islands, there's a medium chance of development. Still, we got about a month and a half of hurricane season to go, give or take, and now a low chance of development not too far from Bermuda, but that's decreasing in likelihood of any formation. But still, it's stuff to watch. Now, the future scan overnight falling down into the mid-30s to near 40 by early tomorrow morning. Maybe leave some extra time. Places like Westminster out toward Frederick for some scraping, northern Baltimore County. But otherwise, it's sunglasses going to be out for the morning commute and back in the afternoon as well, although we'll see a few, I think, extra clouds during the midday and the afternoon as winds are a little more easterly tomorrow. High temperatures getting to near 60. 39 starlit skies overnight. We go 64 tomorrow. Clouds and sunshine. Real nice day, although, again, we will have a few more clouds than we saw for Thursday. On Saturday, good-looking day after a cold start. 64. Sunday, good day for checking out some of the leaves, perhaps, with clouds increasing. Not a whole lot of chance of rain. High 64. The rain looks like it may wait until Monday for Halloween. A high 68 there. And then nice and mild. Dries out by Tuesday afternoon. High 72 and near 70 through the middle and end of next week. And by the way, your Halloween outlook, we've updated it for you. 4 p.m. for the younger kids trick-or-treating. 64. There could be some light showers. Doesn't look like a rain out, but kind of annoying stuff. You may want to have a slicker or an umbrella ready. 6 p.m. after sunset, we're at 62 and then 61 at 8 p.m. for the older kids.
RSV cases and hospitalizations still climbing. I'm Liz Bonus. You might be surprised what is driving this trend. We share it just ahead.
A sudden surge in respiratory illnesses like RSV may be connected to COVID-19. Medical reporter Liz Bonus explains why young
Now doesn't usually set in quite this early.
These are usually sort of winter viruses, and so we don't usually see many cases until we enter the holiday season.
It appears that while we were protecting kids from COVID-19 with vaccines, masks, hand washing, and social distancing, kids likely built up what infectious disease specialists refer to as the immunity gap. For example, one of the reasons the flu vaccine is recommended so strongly this season for those ages 6 months and older.
That people don't have any partial immunity to flu because we haven't had any flu for 2 or 3 years because people have been masking and isolating.
RSV is no different. Cases of this virus actually started showing up last spring. They are already now 60% higher than the peak week we had in 2021. We've seen the same pattern with the flu and other respiratory infections such as adenovirus, parainfluenza, and the good old common cold or rhinovirus. How to fight these, according to Paulson's team at Children's Hospital, which supplied this video?
The best way to protect your child from the respiratory season is to make sure they're up to date on the vaccines that are available for them. And so currently that's COVID and flu.
There are no vaccines for RSV yet, but several trials already in the works. I'm medical reporter Liz Bonus. Now back to you.
Major League Baseball's postseason honors are rolling in. The members of the O's being recognized for their performances in 2022. That's all for us in the late edition. I'm Kai Jackson. Now here's Rocco I'm so excited, Rocco. Rocco DeSangro with some good news, a nail biter in Tampa. That's why I'm so excited.
There we go. That's what you're trying to get out now. People mess up my last name all the time. You're not the first one. You won't be the last one. Thursday night football, Kai. Ravens taking on the Bucs. Quick turnaround for both teams after playing Sunday. Showed for the Ravens in quarter one, I'll tell you that. Baltimore managed just 15 yards of total offense in the first. The Ravens threw the ball 30 times in the first half. 3-0, I'm talking about, not 1-3. 0 for 2 in the red zone. That's not going to cut it most weeks. It's okay, though. Coming out of the locker room, this is a completely different team. They scored in their first 3 possessions offensively. Touchdowns, not field goals, people. That's a good thing. Ravens get the win, 27-22 the final. On to New Orleans on Monday Night Football. That's big time. Listen, it wasn't pretty by any means for the Ravens, but they got the job done, and they got the win over the Bucs. For the first time this season, Baltimore has now won 2 games in a row, so that is huge. Listen, we're talking other things here tonight because we can't show you highlights because that game just finished on Amazon Prime. So we're just going to go with the rest of the AFC North. Let's stick with it right now. Adam Schefter of ESPN is reporting that Jamar Chase is expected to miss 4 to 6 weeks with a hip injury. The Bengals star wideout did not practice Thursday and was listed on the team's injury report. There's a chance that he'll be placed on injured reserve, which would keep him out for a minimum of 4 weeks. The Ravens don't face the Bengals again until January 8th in that regular season finale, so probably be back by then. Brandon Hyde deserves a ton of credit. The O's lost 110 games in 2021. Everyone counted them out in 2022. And what did this team do? Just prove all the doubters wrong. In bringing the Birds their first winning season since 2016, Hyde has been named AL Manager of the Year by Sporting News. The future, it's certainly bright in Birdland. I cannot say it enough. And I'm not telling you anything you don't know. Hyde, he's a big reason why. So are these guys. Rookie Adley Rutschman, outfielder Anthony Santander. They've both been named finalists for the Silver Slugger Award. The award, that's given out annually to the best offensive player at each position in both the American and National League. And if you remember, Cedric Mullins, he got one of those silver bats, the Silver Slugger Award, last year for his performance in 2021. Towson men's basketball has been picked to win the CAA. Makes sense. The Tigers were regular season champs just a season ago and returned 4 of 5 starters, but preseason rankings don't really matter to this team. The Tigers took the court for practice ahead of their season opener November 7th. Last year didn't finish the way the team would have hoped. On the cusp of the big dance and falling just short, didn't sit well with anyone. But Tigers are always hungry, and it's no different with this group.
Well, they're intense about it. And we all know what the goal is. What I've tried to harp on them is our responsibility is to be really good every day. That'll put us in a position to have the opportunities that they want. But I would say good, bad, or indifferently, they're a little less tolerant of certain type of errors from anyone, and then they've got to continue to be less tolerant of themselves on those type of things, and they're aware of that.
All that preseason stuff, preseason conference player, preseason first team, it doesn't really matter because we were picked last year, I think 7th, 8th, or 9th in the conference, and then we ended up first. So it truly doesn't matter. It truly matters what happens when we do at the end of March.
I feel like we can, go as far as we did last year, and we can definitely win it. It's going to take a lot of commitment. It's going to take, there's going to be adversity, and we're going to have to be able to fight through that. But it's good to have these guys back and, to add new pieces that will help us this season.
We'll break down that Ravens game tomorrow on Sports Unlimited. Have a great rest of your night.